is the issue of inequality. The inequality is the mainspring that drives, you know, all the social ills that we see, and that is getting worse all the time. And I mean, I've got some. If I can find some the figures here, it's an extraordinary. That today, the talk about inequality. You know, the poorest 1/5 of the population in Britain pay 36.5% of their income in tax. The richest 1/5 pay 35.5% of their income in tax. The tax system actually works. I mean, this may come as a shock to you all, but the tax system actually works in the benefit of the better off. Even before the onset of this depression, or I said the terrible word, the recession, the DWP figures showed that median income has actually remained static over the last 10 years, virtually static, and that there have been actually real cuts in real pay, in real terms, for those on the lowest standards. Since 1997, since 2001, the poorest 10% of households have seen weekly incomes fall by £9 a week, to £147 a week, once inflation has accounted for, while those in the richest 10% have enjoyed a £45 a week increase to £1,033. The poorest 10% of households also have to make do with less since 2005. The poorest 20% saw real income fall by 2.6% in between 2007 and 8, and those in the top fifth of income distribution enjoyed a rise of 3.3%. As a result, income inequality at the end of Labour's 11th year was higher than at any time since Margaret Thatcher's premiership. So inequality is actually growing in this country, and has to be addressed in any program, of response to the crisis. And that's not just because it's a good thing, because justice calls for it, but in fact, of course, that in terms of the economic effect, the multiplier effect of increasing the social wage, giving benefits to the poorest people, rising the spending levels of the poorest people in society, all of that is immediately goes into consumption. Whereas at the moment, the poor can't spend, and the rich won't spend. And so a program of revival needs to have at its heart the problem we face, just as the problem we face now was in large measure brought about by a massive redistribution of wealth from income and wages to corporate profits, which then went into financial investment. So we now need to see a massive redistribution of wealth in the opposite direction. So, though I would suggest that I'll get it right, the Green New Deal, that is the original Green New Deal, not the TUC's Green New Deal, the Liberal Democrats' Green New Deal, the UN's Green New Deal, or probably Tesco's has got a Green New Deal by now. But the original, despite the serious contribution that the Green New Deal document has made, I think that it's now in some measure been overtaken by time, and that its view is anyway fatally flawed by the limitations of its view. So therefore we need to see what else we can do. And what I'm proposing, I don't want to sort of go on forever, so I'm going to cut it as quite short here. I've got a number of proposals here, which most of them aren't particularly original. I think that you'll find a number of the points that in this pamphlet have been discussed or are being discussed in trade union branches, in pensioners' organisations, in tenants' organisations all over the country now. There being some the sort of proposals that are in here are not all of them, but some of them being you'll see them, you'll hear echoes of them in the campaign group, in Compass, in the Labour Party, in the Green Party, in Respect, and all sorts of groups in the environmental and progressive movement. And there's a whole number of manifestos, most of which have sort of not got anywhere at all, around which to organise with a number of popular demands. And the most important of those is probably the People's Charter, which is aiming to reproduce the concept of the great People's Charter of the original Chartists and get 1 million signatures. So I suggest that one of the purposes of the proposals in this pamphlet, and one of the purposes of the pamphlet itself, is to draw together these strands in order that we can bring these strands of opposition together into a more coherent whole in order to develop a new movement of opposition. So the first thing is taking control. Clearly, you know, surprise, surprise, we have to really take control of the financial system, and this is now the idea of actually state control of the financial system, and in particular the state control of the flow of credit, the state monopoly of credit, is now, I'm pleased to say, thanks to Green Left actually, Green Party policy. And the thing is that once the state basically can determine the level and direction of credit within the economy, that it means that then financial institutions, we don't need these, the huge, a lot of, I won't say it because I can't get it out, the huge financial institutions, which unfortunately this government has even made even huger by the forced mergers. We can actually look at creating new sorts of financial institutions that actually relate much more to the needs of specific communities, to the needs of the population as a whole. So, you know, and certainly the development of new mutuals. It's interesting that despite all their limitations and faults, and lack of democracy on the most part, the building societies have actually that stayed neutral have all survived, and the ones that didn't haven't. And so we should look at the encouragement of credit unions. The idea of a post office bank has been floated. We could look at the re-emergence of local authorities as local bankers. Essex County Council is already doing that. My first mortgage was actually from the local council, because you couldn't, in those days, you couldn't. Nobody wanted to buy houses in NW5, and the local council, the only way that they could get moved is the local council lent you money. So that the corporate finance and retail function of banks must be separated, obviously, and trading in exotic financial instruments must be banned in Britain